Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a video review. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at Bayonetta Origins, Cereza, and the Lost Demon for the Nintendo Switch. Though this is basically, or in a way you can look at it, a prequel to the original Bayonetta series, though. And if you're interested in any gameplay footage, I'll have a link down in the description down below, or you can click on the card that will appear up on this video, so you're watching this on YouTube. And for parents out there, it's worth pointing out that Bayonetta Origins, Cereza, and the Lost Demon is rated T for teens, ages 13 and up by the ESRB rating system. Now, Bayonetta has certainly had a very interesting history, though. Originally started out as sort of this deal that Sega and Platinum made in terms of several games that they were working on, some of them Mad World, Infinite Space, and Bayonetta, though. The series has sort of had some interesting turns and twists then, though. The game did not perform as well when it originally came out on the PS3 and 360 in terms of financially, in terms of the expectations Sega was expecting, though, until it made an appearance during the Wii U presentation, though, when it was later learned that Nintendo would fully fund that game as an exchange of making it an exclusive to the system. Since then, we've had entries like Bayonetta 2, to the first Bayonetta being ported over to the Nintendo system, to even last year's Bayonetta 3, which had a little hidden Easter egg that I think that that was kind of surprising, especially when it was later announced that Platinum and Nintendo would be working on basically a prequel entitled Bayonetta's Origin, Cereza, and the Lost Demon. Now, when they first showed off gameplay footage of it, though, I was kind of surprised about basically the direction they were kind of going with it, though. And after spending some time with Bayonetta Origins, though, I honestly will say is that it is a nice entry into the series, though. And I would also say this, though. If Bayonetta 1, 2, and 3 are like Platinum's take on Devil May Cry, then Bayonetta Origins, Cereza, and the Lost Demon, in my view, is sort of Platinum's take on the cult hit from Capcom Okami, though. So why don't we get started with the pros and cons, and we'll start off first with the pros. And the first one has to do with the visuals, and I will say that's probably one of the game's strong points, though. Now, I've said this argument before many times, though, that video games can be an art form to a certain degree, though, and there have been cases where that has always been. Whether it's the kind of games that Suda51 has done, like Killer 7 or No More Heroes, Okami is a very good example. Even The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, even though I don't 100% agree with this approach, though, the cel-shaded look to it, similar to, games like the Jet Set Radio and Jet Guardian Radio series, though, and Bayonetta Origins kind of falls into that. The visuals of the game look really neat, though. It comes off as basically a cross between something you would see in terms of like maybe a children's book, though, to parts of it feeling like Capcom's Okami and all that stuff, and it looks really, really good. I gotta give props to Platinum in terms of the visual and the art style to the game, though. It looks really nice, though. The next one thing I want to talk about is the story, though, and the story is actually very good, though. It basically follows, if you may remember, during the first game, there was cutscenes of how Bayonetta's family was sort of broken up and everything like that, mostly because of it is basically forbidden for a Loomis Sage and Umba Witch, being together and all that, and that kind of digs a little bit deeper into somewhat of Bayonetta's childhood and all, in terms of trying to find a way to rescue her mother and everything like that, though. And it's interesting how the story is told. It's told in a way kind of like a children's book, though, as I mentioned on the visual side of it, though, and Bayonetta trying to learn about her powers and everything like that, including basically summoning a demon under the name Chesta, though, which looks very similar to almost looks kind of similar to the Chesta that was used by Viola in Bayonetta 3 and all. So from a story perspective, it's still enjoyable. I think it was good and all, and I think that's also a good strength of basically, the writing in this game, though. And last but not least is the gameplay, and this is where it can be both. It's interesting and fun, though, but I will get to part 2 about a certain thing about the gameplay, though. But what makes it interesting is that the game is basically under like sort of a fixed camera approach, which again can be both a good and a bad thing though. And you're basically going to be controlling two characters, Bayonetta and Cereza though. While most of the time you will be able to basically control one character, such as basically controlling Bayonetta while she holds Cereza, there are certain times when you have to break the two split apart though, and some of it involves basically the puzzles in the game though, which will require you to move Bayonetta to a certain part while moving Cereza to another part. There's one area where basically Cereza moves sort of a certain platform and you put Bayonetta on it while she moves and do certain things though. Other times you have to control both characters at the same time to solve certain puzzles, to even use in combat though. While Bayonetta can't attack or anything like that, she does have the ability to basically stop enemies on their track, and which basically is like this thorn-like power though, which then basically you can bring Cereza in and he goes in for the kill. He basically does all the attacks and everything like that. So you're basically controlling both Bayonetta and Cereza at the same time in the combat side of it. And it's very interesting in terms of the approach of combat that Platinum decided to make for this game though. And it can be fun at times, to be exact though. So some of it is very clever to what Platinum did in terms of being able to control Bayonetta and Cereza. So yeah, gameplay is both interesting and fun. It can be interesting and fun at times though in Bayonetta Origins though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2, which is the cons. So we'll take a little break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my video review of Bayonetta Origin, Cereza and the Lost Demon for the Nintendo Switch. So now that I gave you the pros, why don't we get started with the cons? And for the start of the cons though, this one is sort of a continuation of what I talked about in the pros, and that is about the gameplay. Now, I still believe the gameplay is interesting and it can be fun at times though, and I still stand behind that. However, that doesn't mean it's perfect in any way though, and there are times when the game can get to several frustrated moments though, and a lot of this has to do with the fact that you have to control Bayonetta and Cereza at the or Cereza, that's what I meant, Cereza, at the same time though, and that can make things a little bit complicated though. While it's not as bad as when you're doing the puzzle side of it though, although there's one puzzle that kind of made things a little bit frustrated at times when you have to control both characters. Combat is where the frustration can come, because you have to control, like I said, you have to control both characters, and that can make things a little bit difficult though, because remember, in this game, Bayonetta can't attack. I mean, she can basically trap enemies with sort of like this vine spell and everything like that, but she can't attack. Cereza is the only one that can attack though, and that can make things a little bit difficult, and it adds to the game, sort of, unfortunately adds to it a learning curve to it to a certain degree. Does it make the game unplayable? I would say no, it doesn't. But it does, however, can make things a little bit difficult at times, and can lead to some frustrated moments here and there. What also doesn't help is the game uses a fixed camera, and my position with fixed cameras is that can be a blessing and a curse. On one hand, that could be helpful, as you don't have to worry about rotating the camera all the time. But on the other hand, it can lead to situations where the camera is at that one angle you don't want it to always be in, and that can make things a little bit difficult at times. While I haven't ran into situations that made that completely difficult, it does lead to some frustrated moments though. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong, Bayonetta can dodge and everything like that and move out of the way though, but it just makes it does make it a little bit difficult at times, because you have to control both characters at the same time. With Bayonetta, you control her with the left analog stick. Cereza can only be controlled with the right analog stick though. Another thing to point out though is that given the fact that you can control both characters though, I do think to a certain degree, it kind of there's a missed opportunity here to add at least the option of a co-op feature. To be exact, though, I mean, I'm glad that it's still a single-player game. Don't get me wrong, but I think there was sort of a missed opportunity right here to add sort of like a co-op feature for this game and all of those. So, I mean, again, the game is still playable though, but there is definitely a learning curve to this game and all, though. Maybe not exactly on the same level as, say, like the Wonderful 101 was, but it's definitely noticeable. And last but not least, though, as enjoyable as the gameplay is, though, I would say don't really go into this game expecting it to be like the past Bayonetta games, though, okay? I mean, yes, it is using the same name, but remember, the gameplay is different. Remember, Bayonetta 1, 2, and 3 plays more like the kind of games that if you played games like the Devil May Cry series, considering that series, the person who worked on the Bayonetta series is the same person who helped create the Devil May Cry series. So that one's more of an over-top action. This one, not so much. This one does have a little bit more of an exploration or exploring a lot of the areas, though. So it's definitely more about exploring and not as much about the combat side of the situation, though. I mean, yeah, it still maintains some stuff like, finding little hidden secrets here and there and everything like that. But you know what? It's still, I wouldn't really go into this expecting basically the gameplay to be exactly on the same level as, say, the past Bayonetta games, though. Overall, I definitely enjoy Bayonetta Origins Cereza at the Lost Demons, despite the bit of a learning curve, at least from my view, that the game has. At its best, though, the visuals look really nice to the game. I like how it does take a little bit of a page out of Capcom's Okami, though, and it shows that video games can't be an art form, though. The story is still good, especially if you enjoyed the Bayonetta lore, though. And the gameplay, though, is still enjoyable and fun, though, and I like the approach that Platinum did with it, especially being able to control Bayonetta and Cereza, and it adds to sort of interesting puzzles and interesting combat. But at the same time, though, at its worst, though, it's also a double-edged sword because of the fact that you have to control both characters at the same time, it can lead to sometimes some frustrated moments. Henceforth, the game does have somewhat of a learning curve. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't make the game unplayable, but it is you can definitely notice the learning curve, though. And of course, you really should not go into this game expecting that it's going to play exactly like the past Bayonetta games and all. But in either case, though, I still enjoyed Bayonetta Origins, Cereza, and the Lost Demons, though. I'm glad to see that this game exists. I'm glad that we got to see somewhat of a Bayonetta prequel, though. I am very curious to see how the franchise will go going forward from now on, though. It will be very interesting to see if we get, say, like another prequel or anything like that. But either way, fans of the Bayonetta series, though, should definitely check out Bayonetta and Cereza and the Lost Demon, though. It is a fun game, especially if you are also fans of, say, like Capcom's Okami or anything like that. Just be careful when it comes to the gameplay, though. Like I said, it is fun, but there is a learning curve to it, and that learning curve, depending on your perspective, though, it might turn you off, it may not, though. But in either case, though, Bayonetta fans should definitely take a look at Bayonetta Origins, though. Okay, this concludes my video review of Bayonetta Origins, Cereza, and the Lost Demons for the Nintendo Switch. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about Bayonetta Origins, Cereza, and the Lost Demon? Do you think it is a good game in any way, though? Do you think it's a bad game at all? Are you glad that they did sort of a prequel to the Bayonetta series, though? Do you think controlling Bayonetta and Cereza, if I'm saying their name correctly, do you think that adds a bit of a frustrated moment or to a learning curve, or you don't think it was a big deal at all? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, Feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description. Oh, and Steamlabs too. Links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, wish you all a good day then. Bye.